Pete Martin. This Barry Harris for Mandolin series teaches the jazz improvisation method of pianist Barry Harris applied to the mandolin. If you would like to see more videos in this series, or other videos of mandolin, fiddle, improvisation, and many other music subjects, subscribe to my channel. Click the bell icon to be notified of new videos. This series of videos is designed to be viewed in order as concepts build on previous videos. If you are new to Barry's ideas, I suggest going back and starting with the first video in this series, the link to which is above. There's a PDF file that goes with this video, so email me and ask for Barry Harris for Mandolin, number 14, tune-up. Tune-up is a Miles Davis tune that uses a 2-5-1 chord progression in 3 different keys. We will look at the first 12 measures of the tune, applying some of Barry's improvising ideas to construct lines. Because this 2-5-1 progression happens in so many jazz tunes, it is important that you get comfortable improvising on this progression. Tune-up is 2-5-1 in the keys of D, C, and B flat. This video will get you going in that direction. We covered chord scale outlines in video number 2 and 3 of this series. One of the first things to do when learning a new tune is to learn the chord scale outlines, This will teach you what scale you're using to improvise in all parts of the chord progression. These outlines for the first 12 bars of tune-up are in example 1. We saw 4-note phrases that Barry calls chords for dominant chords in episode 1 of this series. Review that if needed. We can also play 5-note chords by extending the pattern one more note. You play a note of the scale, skip a note, play a note, skip a note, play a note, skip a note, play a note, skip a note, and play one more note. Also, just like triads and 4-note chords, we can play a chromatic lead-in. In example 2, we see a 4-note chord, then a 5-note chord, then a 5-note chord with chromatic lead-in. Example 2, first measure. Example 2, second measure. Example 2, third measure, 3, 4, 1. Barry says that for improvising purposes, we treat one measure of E minor 7 and one measure of A7 as 2 measures of A7. So we need a line that fits 2 measures of A7. We will use the notes of the A dominant scale. Let's start with a 5-note chord with a chromatic lead-in, starting on F sharp, leading into the 5-note chord starting on G. When we get to the A note, we descend the A dominant scale with 1 extra half step between the root and flat 7. Remember, we saw this in episode 5. When we get to the G note, we pivot, then continue down the A dominant scale with no added half steps. We see these 2 measures in example 3. Two, three, four, 1. We then need 2 measures of D major 7. If we keep descending the scale from the previous measure, it puts us on A, which is the 5th of D major. We can now play 5-4-3. We saw this in episode 6. After this, a 3-note triad, episode 2, then end on a B note, the 6th on the offbeat. Ending and starting phrases on a note of the offbeat is very common jazz phrasing. We see these 2 measures in example 4. Two, three, four. Example 5 shows all 4 measures played together. Two, three, four, 1. Barry often suggests taking a line and moving it down a whole step in progressions like this. This is great practice, plus also gives the line a logical sound. The next 4 measures of tune-up are 1 measure of D minor 7, 1 measure of G7, and 2 measures of C major 7. If we transpose example 5 down a whole step, it fits these chords just fine. We see this in example 6. Two, three, four, 1. In example 7, we move the line down 1 more full step as it fits against the next 4 measures of tune-up. Toward the end, I cannot play the 3 phrase as normal because it would take in a note F that is below the open G string of the mandolin. So instead, I do a 4-note chord going up. Remember from the video on pivoting, which is example 7, that the pivot is just a 4-note chord with the last 3 notes played an octave lower. So here I'm really playing the same line an octave higher. Play example 7 now. Two, three, four, 1. Example 8 is the first 12 measures of tune-up. If you like the material presented here, you may be interested in some of the 13 instruction books I've written for fiddle, mandolin, and improvising. I am also available for private lessons in Seattle and Issaquah, Washington, or online through Skype or FaceTime. Check these out at either of my websites, petamarpress.com or jazz-mandolin.com. Also consider a small donation via PayPal at my email address shown here. Now let's construct another line. First, we need a line that fits 2 measures of A7. If we start on G, we can descend using Barry's chromatic scale, which was episode 11. When we get to C sharp, we descend the A dominant scale, doing a surround into G, where we then play a tritone lick on an E flat 7, which is the tritone of A7. Remember, we covered tritones in episode 13. We see these two measures in example 9. Two, three, four. We then need two measures of a D major 7. The first two notes are an arpeggio of a D6 chord. Then we have a chromatic sound to an A note into the 3 phrase of D major. This is example 10. Two, three, four. If we put all 4 measures together, then transpose them like we did earlier, we have example 11. I suggest coming up with many more lines on your own for tune-up based on the Barry Harris material you've learned in this course so far. Move tune-up into other keys and do the same thing. When you can do this in several keys comfortably, then move on to the next video. If you have questions or suggestions, please use the comments section below, and I'll answer them as soon as I can. Be sure to subscribe to my channel. I'm Pete Martin. Thanks for watching.